Today, we're going to discuss the Jeoseung-saja, the Korean Grim Reaper, an important figure in Korean mythology. Jeoseung means underworld or underlife, and encompasses all parts of the world where the dead are found, be it heaven or hell. Iseung refers to the world of the living. Saja means messenger or envoy. Think of the Jeoseung-saja as an underworld courier. Lately, they have exploded in pop culture, and you might have seen them in hits like the animated film Kpop Demon Hunters, the K-drama Goblin, or the manhwa and movies along with the gods. In this video, we'll take a look at their ancient roots. Traditionally, the Jeoseung-saja is a male figure, but modern pop culture sometimes flips it to a female figure for an interesting twist. It is like a government official of the dead, a messenger of the underworld, who leads the soul of a dead person to the afterlife. His appearance marks the beginning of the end for a person's life. Its origins are found in Korean shamanism, Korean Buddhism, and some Chinese traditional beliefs. Death, in Korean shamanism and traditional beliefs, is a transition to another world. In Buddhism, a soul is judged for what it has accomplished in its life. The Korean underworld is governed like on Earth. It is a structured government where officials carry out specific duties. The Jeoseung-saja work under the authority of the 10 kings of the underworld, Shiwang. All of them work under the tutelage of King Yeomra, the god of death and ruler of the underworld. Together, they decide the fate of the dead, whether they go to heaven, hell, or somewhere in between. The Jeoseung-saja's role is to accurately assess the merits and karma of the deceased. It also examines the good deeds of an individual gained through the proper performance of rituals deeply rooted in Confucianism, like wedding ceremonies, ancestral worship, coming-of-age ceremonies, and so on. Confucian societies emphasize respect for ancestors and the afterlife. The Jeoseung-saja serve as a reminder of these ideas. Live righteously or face the paperwork in the afterlife. In Korean tradition, the Samdo-chon, the three-path river, borders the world of the living and the world of the dead, similar to the river Styx in Greek mythology. One path leads to heaven, one to purgatory, and the other to hell. The Jeoseung-saja guides the souls on this river to their destination. The Jeoseung-saja are usually depicted as pale, skeletal figures dressed in black durumagi, that's the black overcoat from classic hanbok, wearing a black gat, the hat worn by officials and nobles during the Joseon dynasty. The 1977 TV drama Korean Ghost Stories popularized the sleek modern look of the Jeoseung-saja. In Buddhist and shamanic traditions, the Jeoseung-saja is depicted wearing different clothing. Think of an armored military general riding a horse or some other mythical creature, as in the Gamje-saja-do, painting of the Gamje envoy. It can also look like a government official wearing red in various colors, not just black. The painting of the Jigbu envoy, Jigbu-saja-do, illustrates this. They are often intimidating and stern-looking, but in some shamanic tales, they are portrayed as mischievous or dim-witted. Sometimes, depending on the source, they are invisible to humans until they choose to reveal themselves. In Buddhist ritual texts, there are many types of underworld envoys with different roles, and they interact with the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. The Jeoseung-saja carry out their duties with impartiality and total lack of emotions. They are not cruel. Their role is to maintain cosmic order. The Jeoseung-saja can be seen at times holding scrolls in which are recorded a person's actions in life. They can also carry chains to bind the soul of the dead. Moving between the worlds of the living and the dead is seamless to them. They are not affected by the limitations of mortals. Once they are summoned to the world of the living, they relentlessly pursue the souls that they are meant to bring back. No one can escape their fate. Or can they? Some folk tales about the jeoseung-saja say that the underworld envoy can show leniency to the deceased and allow them to resolve unfinished business while in soul state. Once the soul is done with what it needs to accomplish, it can move on to the afterlife. There are stories about the jeoseung-saja accepting bribes to extend someone's lifespan, but that creates clashes with the household deities where the deceased lived. In Korean shamanic tradition, there's a deity for the kitchen and fire, another for wealth and storage, one for pots, and even one for the toilets. I wonder what a fight between the Chikshin, goddess of the toilet, and the jeoseung-saja would look like. In stories, a rich person could bribe a jeoseung-saja with gold and valuables to then be struck with massive losses from natural disasters like losing livestock and crops and the death of a loved one. The jeoseung-saja would, in this case, be repaid in underworld currency, meaning souls. A common belief is that when a jeoseung-saja calls out the name of someone 3 times, that person must follow the envoy to the afterlife. There's a funny story where a jeoseung-saja wrote someone's name in his ledger, but took the soul of someone else bearing a similar name. The envoy's superiors scolded it and demanded that it returns the proper soul. The unlucky person, already buried, would awaken and realize that he or she was buried alive. There's a folk tale where sleeping with an empty pillow on your side could invite a jeoseung-saja to rest on it. In such a case, if you wake up and see an envoy sleeping next to you, offer it a place to rest on the condition that it does not take your life. Traditions related to the imminent coming of a jeoseung-saja vary depending on the different regions of Korea. Usually, a meal called sajabap, food for the messenger, is laid out outside the main gate of a house for the jeoseung-saja to eat to help it guide safely the dead to the afterlife. If a soul ever evades a jeoseung-saja, it becomes a guishin, a ghost, and lingers in the world of the living until the reaper is once again tasked in capturing it. In Hwanghae province, the jeoseung-saja can be seen as malicious and may linger in the household instead of hurrying to the underworld with the dead. To counter this, families perform various rituals during funerals and offer money and food to appease the jeoseung-saja and make sure it peacefully guides the dead to the afterlife. In the same province, it is said that there are 3 jeoseung-saja that come to escort the dead. Because of that, the household where a person died put out 3 bowls of rice, 3 pairs of straw shoes, and 3 pairs of cutlery for the reapers. In other parts of Korea, the ritual of the afterlife, Darigut, sees the jeoseung-saja acting mischievously with the family of the deceased, turning somber into silly. The envoy plays with the mourners, demanding bribes in a humorous haggling match that lightens the grief. Some shamanic traditions count 7 jeoseung-saja. There is one for the souls of military men, one for sudden deaths, one for the death of a guest, while others just wander. Those are the real wild cards for the living. The jeoseung-saja is always received in the courtyard, never indoors, as they could linger and potentially cause misfortune and additional deaths in the family. It's also important not to mistreat the jeoseung-saja because it might torment the soul of the deceased on its way to meet the 10 kings of the underworld. Bottom line, jeoseung-saja aren't the demonic sight swingers of Western lore or even some over-the-top K-dramas. They're just dutiful civil servants keeping the afterlife's books balanced. What do you think? Would you bribe one? Drop a comment below, like if you learned something new, and subscribe for more deep dives into Korean culture and history. Thank you so much for watching.